post it again?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
I got it.
You got it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be printed.
You could print it, yeah. If you click on that link in the chat, it should be on the right side of your page, I believe. There's a link, it's a Dropbox link. Give everyone a minute here.
For some reason, it's not opening the link on mine. I don't know why.
It should be a public link, I think.
I don't know why. Let me try it.
No, that worked for me.
Oh, you know what? There's another thing I'm able to do. 1 second. I could actually, I didn't realize this at the time. I could upload the actual file here. Maybe I should be doing that. 1 second. I wasn't aware you could do that. Okay, so let's see.
Oh, he has 15 participants.
I can, Gabay, I can email it to people also.
Oh, okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, it might be best to either text it to me or email.
Or maybe you want to just share it to your screen, Rabbi?
Yeah.
I could do that. Let me share my screen. I think some people want to print it as well. That's a good idea. I am going to share it. Let me just see here.
I can see the text, but I can't print it. But it must also be 52 pages. My gosh.
Yeah, I didn't print 52 pages at home. I went through it and I selectively. I have to go through it anyway in advance. I go through it and, you know, do it that way. Let's see here. Okay.
So how many pages do you think you'll go through?
Not that. We don't go through that on a regular week. If you want, I could tell you the pages to print. I would print from 7 till I'll print from 7 to 37. If that makes it any better.
Well, it
One
doesn't
more second here, guys.
I see a Dropbox, but I don't.
Okay, let me try this now. There we go. Okay, so Paul, a PDF should upload in a second. It's a direct file. It's not a link. I'll do that next time. That's for sure easier for people. I'm sorry.
Upload where?
Well, right now you should see it in the chat section, and it's a file itself.
Yeah, the thing is when it's not like.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one more and just post the file in the WhatsApp group.
Paul, I emailed you a copy. Also, Tommy, I emailed you the link.
You
also.
emailed it? Okay, good.
Can you email it to me too?
Yeah. Yeah. Just. Yeah. I just need your email address. I just put it in the chat.
Moshe, I have your email address. I could send it to you now.
Okay.
It's to Moshe.
I got it now. Thank you.
Oh, you got it? Okay, good. And I did post it in the WhatsApp group as well. Okay, I'll give everyone just a few more seconds. Okay, so the Gemara here on Samech Vav Amud Aleph, it has this discussion in terms of really breaking down the pasuk in Vayikra in terms of, or really in this case, it's the pasuk in Devarim in terms of when is the appropriate time for Sefirat HaOmer, right? So there are different options. Obviously, our counting of the Sefirat today without to get into the whole sugya of whether our Sefirat HaOmer today is D'oraisa or D'Rabbanan, it is definitely modeled after the Ketziras HaOmer that was done during this period of time, the actual reaping of the barley. So based off that, the Gemara goes through various limudim to understand when the reaping can begin and when and therefore when the counting will begin. We'll do it real fast for the sake of time, but really the Rishonim is where the fireworks begin. But we'll start with the Gemara itself. The Gemara says that if you see in the graded box on page 7, it says, Miyom Haviechem Tisporu. When you bring it, you shall start counting. So the Gemara says, Yachol Yiktzor V'Yavi Ve'emetai Shirtze Yispor. So you may think that you have to reap it by a specific time and bring it by a specific time, but in terms of when to actually count the Omer, that's whenever you want. So the pasuk continues, Talmud Lomar, Mehachel Charmesh Bekama Techal Lispor. That the counting is going to be at the time that you're actually reaping it as well. So the reaping cannot be separate from the counting. Those two are going to be at the same exact time. So the Gemara continues. So you may think, okay, I may have to reap it by a certain time. I may have to count by a certain time. But in terms of bringing the Korban Omer, in terms of bringing the Omer, that I'm able to do whatever I want. So it says Talmud Lomar Miyom Hiviechem. That again, it's a continuity within the pasuk saying that all of these have to be tied. So there's 3 actions going on, right? There's the counting, the reaping, and the actual bringing of the Korban Omer, and none of those are independent from one another. So they're all going to be done at the same time. So miyom hiviechem yachol yiktzor v'yispor v'yavi b'yom. You may think you could be able to do that during the daytime. You could do any one of those actions that are needed during the day. And Talmud Lomar, and here's our key phrase, Sheva Shabbatot Timimot Tihiyena. You need 7 complete weeks. Ematai Atamotse Sheva Shabbatot Timimot. When are you able to accomplish 7 complete weeks? Bizman she'ata matchil limnot be'erev. It's when you're able to bring, or when you do it at night, and that is going to be key. We're going to see what exactly it means. It says that you only have completeness when you begin at night. Yachol yiktzor v'yavi v'yispor b'layla. Talmud Lomar miyom heviechem. You may think that the bringing of the korban and the reaping of it could also be done, and the counting of it can only be done at night as well. Talmud Lomar miyom haketzad ketzira v'sefira b'layla. The reaping and the counting will take place at night, but the actual bringing of the korban omer, that's not going to be done at night. That's going to be done during the day. So they're all going to take place during the same period. They're all going to start on the 16th of Nisan, okay? But in terms of, so that was the first few lines that we learned. And the last lines tell us that the reaping and the counting actually need to be done at night for there to be checking the box of the 7 weeks being tamim. So if you just read the Gemara, the reason, if I'd ask you, why do you need to count at night for there to be tamim? So you could take a stab at it. Why would you say that? What does a night do in terms of accomplishing counting at night versus what would happen if I would count during the day? What would that be lacking? Why would that not be a complete set?
Mimot.
Right. So tamimot, right, for us means complete, is that the cycle begins at night, right? The day begins, me'es la'es, begins at night. We don't start the day in the morning. We start in the evening. If you would count in the middle of the day, so that day has a chisaron in it because the counting was not done at the beginning of the day, i.e. for us, the beginning of the day is the night before. Rather, it's done in the middle of the day. So take a look at the Tosfos here on this side. We're not going to do the whole Tosfos. We're going to do 2 sections of the Tosfos. We're going to do the first couple of lines and the last few lines. In the beginning, he says, and here's where the fireworks begin in terms of our sugya. What happens if Gabay forgot to count last night? What do we do? He says, "Vehecha deshachach lispor b'layla." If I forgot to count at night, right? Because we just learned the Gemara. It says you need to count at night. What happens if I didn't? Pasak bahag shesofer b'yom. You could go ahead and to count during the daytime. Why is that so? at the end of the day, the Bahag also has the same Torah we do. He also has the word Tmimot Tiena. He has those words as well. How does he accomplish that? So we're going to see. There's a proof for the Bahag in terms of a Mishnah that's on Ayin Aleph in Menachos. Titnan mitzvaso balayla liktzor ve'im niktzah bayom kasher. We know by Katsira that if I would like to, I could. It's true. I need to do the Katsira at night, but b'diavad, if I had done so during the day, that's okay. So there's a raya. So therefore, the Bahag holds that if I forgot to count at night, I count during the day. It's very important to be meduyah because we're going to see different opinions of even what the Bahag holds. What could you do during the day according to the Bahag? Can you count with the bracha during the day? Read his words again, right? In terms of how Tosfos gives over the Bahag. The sofer bayom, that if shachach lispor balayla, pasak Bahag shesofer bayom. Doesn't say explicitly that you could count with a bracha, but he doesn't make a point of saying that you cannot count with a bracha either. It just seems to be business as usual during the day, right? The way Tosfos is explaining the Bahag. It's business as usual. I could continue to count. Okay, let's see. Fireworks number one begin with the first argument against the Bahag. Aval nira l'Rabbeinu Tam, Eker idach stama dematnitin de perik sheni de Megillah. Rabbeinu Tam learns from the Gemara and Megillah and matnitin besov parkinan kol halayla kasher leketziras omer. That we have another Mishnah and another Gemara that tells us that the entire night is acceptable to perform the Ketzira, the actual reaping of the Omer. V'daikinan minei. Rabbeinu Tam makes a deal. Kol halayla kasher, laila dumya diyom, ma diyom balayla lo, after laila biyom lo. There are certain things I could do during the day, and there are certain things I could do during the night. If this is something which is a night activity, then it can only be done at night. Just as there are certain things that are day activities, and I don't go ahead and do them during the day. So he's cholik. Rabbeinu Tam says, if you forget to count at night, you've got nothing going on during the day. This is a night mitzvah, because again, it says he's quoting from different places within Shas. Kol halayla kasher leketziras haomer. That's a direct quote. So he's saying from that you could be miduyat dafka the laila. Skip to the very end of this Tosfos for me, please. The last 4 lines of the Tosfos. The first one on the line is kavaseh. The second word on the line is od. Everyone with me? The fourth to last line of the Tosfos. Od. He says od pasak behilchos gedolos. In the middle, he's bringing rayas one way or the other in terms of what's kasher b'diavad or lechachila for the ketziras haomer. So he goes through a tour around Shas. But I want to get to the psak here. Od pasak behilchos gedolos shim hifsig yom echad v'lo safar shuv eno sofer mishum debai tmimos. That the Bahag holds, if I forget a day, if I miss a day, I am no longer able to count because I need Tamimos. V'tema gedolahu v'lo yitachin. Tosfos does not accept this Bahag. He says no way. Okay. So from the Gemara, if I'd ask you so far, I have this word Tamimos. How do I define it? So the Gemara tells me, right? If you go back, right, the Gemara understood very clearly that it had a havamina. The yachol yiktzor v'yispor v'yavi b'yom. And the Gemara itself says, Tamalomar Sheva Shabbatot Timimot Tehiyana, that I can't do it at day because I need to do it at night because of Timimot. Okay, so that's one way to understand Timimot. The Bahag says, you know what Timimot means? Timimot means I have something to do for 7 weeks. If I miss one day of that, there's a chisaron and this being complete. And that's what Timimot means. Timimot means to make sure to go ahead and to count every day. Tosfos, now again, this is where it becomes very interesting, right? This is really why the machlokes becomes fascinating. If you hold timimot means that I must count during the night, and that's the definition of it. So if I forget a day, is that an issue? Do I have any sort of din or source that tells me to count during the day? No. Because the word timimot doesn't tell me to make sure to count every single day. It's telling me to count at the night. I need to have a complete counting. If I count 12 hours into the day, if I wake up at Shachris and I count the next morning, I have not done a complete counting. I've counted half of the half of the 24th day of the Omer. I haven't counted the full 24th day of the Omer. So therefore, if I forget a day, can I continue to count? Sure, Tamimon has nothing to do with that. If you hold like the Bahag says Tamimon has a special has one message. Tamimon is count every single day. So what happens if I forgot to count a night? No problem, count during the day. But what about Tamimot? Tamimot does not tell me I need to count at the beginning of day 24. Tamimot tells me do not miss one of the 49 days or 50 days of counting. Don't do that. Do not do that. So again, depending which one you hold, it'll have a nafkamina. It'll have a nafkamina. Can you count during the day with a bracha? Okay. Or it'll have a nafkamina that if I forget a day, am I able to continue counting? So those are the two ways to it's going to get a little bit more nuanced, but those are the primary two camps. The Bahag has very clearly so far, according to this Tosfos, we're going to see another Tosfos, it makes it so complicated that, and we pass in like one Tosfos, not the other, or we give credence to one version of the Bahag, not the other. That's why it's so key to go through it. But according to the Bahag, Tamimos means don't miss a day. You forgot to count last night? By all means, when our shir is over in 40 minutes, go ahead, count with a bracha. Tamimos doesn't tell me I can't count with a bracha during the day. That's the Bahag. What do other Rishonim say about this? Take a look at the next page. The Chinuch on page 8, in terms of describing this mitzvah, says as follows. And we're right where the hand is on the right side margin. Mona, really go the line above it. The line above it, above the hand, it's the fourth word into the line. Everyone with me?
Yes.
If I forgot to count during the night before, I could count the next day. Who is that? That's the Bahag you saw quoted at the end of Tosfos, that if I miss a day, I can no longer count. And because I forgot one day, you're out. One strike and you're out. That's it. Not 3 strikes. The Chinuch pushes back on such an opinion, just as the last 3 words of Tosfos did. We don't know. We don't hold by this shita, says the Chinuch. We don't hold like this Bahag. Elamisha shachach yom echad yomar amaj haya kach below bracha. He's going to say the next day without a bracha. That's interesting. He says you're going to count the next day without a bracha. Okay. Omona achirim im kol Yisrael. And then the achirim, I'm assuming, meaning the 20, let's say the subsequent days, he could count. He's going to go ahead and count with the rest of Klal Yisrael, i.e., with the bracha. So again, seems to be, according to him, Tamim does not mean that I need to have every single day. He doesn't hold that. He pushes back on that idea. So far, if you create a chart, I just want to let you guys know, even though we're doing this sheer over Zoom, some things never change. We still have the charts. I don't know how well it comes off in the light. We still create the boxes because we could keep track. Because this one is a tag team machlokes. Everyone's going to be everywhere, and they're not always quoting names. And it gets even more and more shitas of the Geonim and art sources, at least, towards the end. Well, the point is that if you're drawing up, if you're writing a chart at home, if you're following along at home with a chart, you have the Bahag on one side. You could count in the bracha during the day if you forgot. But Tamimot means you miss a night, you're out forever. The Chinuch pushes back on that. Rabbeinu Tam seems to push back on that. And the Tosfos at the end says we don't know of such an idea. Okay? What do they hold then of Tamimot? They can't erase the word in the Torah. So again, they must hold that you must count the night before. They need to have some sort of interpretation of that word. So again, it's just how do you define that word? The Rush adds a little bit more color on the next page in terms of sharpening the different opinions within this sugya. The Rush on page Yud says as follows. The Rush on page Yud says as follows. Again, we're in the left column where the hand is. And he says, V'od katav bahag, she'im hifsik yom echad, if I miss a day, v'lo siper shuv, and he doesn't count again, Eno sofer debayinan tmimot. So he adds a line here. He says, if you forgot to count, if you missed a day and you didn't count again, we're going to see what that means. Eno sofer debayinan tmimot. You cannot count further because you need again this completeness, complete of 49 days. Okay, and here's the rush that comes with the fireworks. Ve'ein nir lari the chol laila v'laila mitzvah b'nei atzmo. The Reed doesn't agree to this. I don't know where this comes from. Each night is an independent mitzvah. V'chi mevarchem. And then he adds just another detail in terms of that. I'm sorry, that when you make the bracha, one should try to do so once while standing. But here you see he's already pushing back on that definition of tamimot. Okay, so far it's 3 against 1. You have the Bahag, and then you have Tosfos, Rabbeinu Tam, Achinov, and the Rush. 4 against 1. I'm sorry. Take a look at the next Tosfos. This is the Tosfos, which I said makes things very confusing because he's also going to quote the Bahag. But he's going to quote the Bahag differently than the Tosfos and Menachos. Tosfos and Megillah on page Yud Aleph of your source sheets. Megillah on Chaf Amud Beis. The last Tosfos, the right-hand column, you'll see the hand pointing into it. Kol halayla kasher lekatziras haomer. Omer Rabbeinu Tam she'im shachach levarich balayla lo levarich bayom. If you forgot to count at night, do not go ahead and count during the day. Okay, he's quoting the various places in Shas that were referenced in the previous Gemara. The Tani Niktzar B'Yom Kasher B'Di Aved, that the Ketsira of the Omer is only okay B'Di Aved. Okay, therefore, to go ahead and to count during the day, one should not do because the Ketsira wasn't really done, was not done during the day, at least according to these 2 sources. Mikol makom, stama da hacha adifa da hakitani la gabay hilchata psikta de dina va'od nir da filu lamad de machshir kitzer eron biyom b'diavad modehu gabay sfira de ein levarach biyom mishum de shana alea hakasuv le'erev dichtiv timimot. He goes on saying, do we really hold like this so strongly? Maybe the connection between Katsira and Sefirat isn't as exact and isn't as foolproof as we may think, okay? That maybe even if you hold b'diavad for Katsira, doesn't necessarily mean you'd be so harsh in terms of a stance on Sefirat. And go again to the second to last wide line. It says, Ksiv b'hilchos atzeres ubahag. Everyone with me? The fourth word on the second to last full line. Ubahag kasab. Here's our bahag again. Remember, it's 4 against 1. So we got to understand this bahag. Ubahag kasab, dehecha de inshe levarich balayla, yimna lamachar, below bracha. If you forget to count at night, go ahead and count the next day without a bracha. V'chein halacha. And Toso says that is the halacha. I just want to point something out. I asked in the beginning, and this now you may see why. The Bahag in Menachot, for those that want to scroll back to page 7, I believe it was. Just if you want to go to that Tosfos, the Bahag in Menachot, did it say you don't count the next day with a bracha? When the Bahag was quoted by that Tosfot. Okay? I'll read to you if you want to keep your place here in Megillah. It says, Pasak Hecha de Shachach Lispor Balayla. I'm reading the Tosfos in Menachos. Pasak Bahag Shesofer Bayom. You count during the day.
No mention of the bracha.
No mention that you with bracha, without the bracha. So I told you, and I think it's true, that there's no indication from the first interpretation of the Bahag that anything to do with the bracha. It doesn't say that you don't do with the bracha. It just says you count. So what does count tell me? Count means I usually count with the bracha. So the next day I'll count with the bracha as well. Here Tosos doesn't say that, but here Tosos also says v'chein halacha. The halacha is that you're going to, according to the Bahag, you're going to count the next day with a bracha. Anyone want to interpret that differently? You could argue with me because, you could say, how else will the Bahag tell you you could count with the bracha the next day? Okay, let's see. If you forgot at the night. So now we're on case scenario number 2. Scenario 1 is you forgot during the night, but you counted the next day. Bahag here says you count without a bracha. Case number 2. Shachach balayla v'yom. What happens if I forget to count Sefirat last night, the 24th? And this morning, I'm so busy, my head's all over the place. I'm reading all the news about yes, corona, no corona. I could go into parks now, but all the regulations about going into parks. And before you know it, End of the day, and then count. So what happens? So he says, Lo yimna od bebracha, you're not able to count with a bracha anymore. Deba'inan tmimos v'leika, because you need tmimos and you don't have it. Okay?
Skip today.
You skipped it. Right. So according to this, why is it that I don't count during the day with a bracha? So is it because of tmimos? It doesn't seem to be. Tmimos is, again, he still holds by the bahag. Tmimos is, he gives you the words tmimos to say if you miss the day, you can no longer count. The reason I count during the night as opposed to the day isn't because I need to have a full day of counting like others held. It's because it's modeled after the Ketzira, maybe. Maybe the Ketzira was done out of tmimos, but again, you don't really see him giving that answer. We say the Sefira is modeled after the Ketzira. The counting of the Omer is modeled after the reaping of the Omer. The reaping of the Omer was done during the night. Only B'diavad was done during the day. But that's not a reason to count. That's not a din in Tmimos. Tmimos tells me if I didn't count all day today, no dice, nothing. Tonight I count, but without a bracha. That's the Tosfos in Megillah. The Rosh Yosef points out, a very interesting svara. If you turn on the next page, this is the Rav Yosef Te'umim, who we may know better instead of the Rosh Yosef as the Pri Megadim, in terms of his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. And if you take a look, he asks a very interesting question. He says, this idea that we just said, that if I didn't count at night, and the day, I can no longer count with a bracha because I need tmimos. I'm on page Yud Beis in the source sheets. Okay, Kasha, I don't understand this. Im kain b'shachach b'layla v'sofer b'yom eich yimne shar yamim bracha hal ba'inan tmimos. He says tmimos is if you're going with that logic that I need tmimos, so let's take it to the full way. It's not only if I count during the night and during the day. If I forget to count at night and during the day. It's if I forget to count at night and during the day, I should no longer be able to say a bracha. That's very hard for us to understand because I could simply say to the Pri Megadim, Tmimos means one thing, not the other. Tmimos, I could say that's the bahag. Tmimos tells me I can't miss a day. But don't tell me I can't count with a bracha the next day. That has nothing to do with anything. That's not a din in Tmimos. But okay, that's how he poses this question. Kasha, im kain, I'm on the second line. B'shachach b'layla v'sofer b'yom eichim ne shar yamim b'bracha hal ba'inan tmimos v'ida have tmimos im kain yispor b'yom b'bracha. And if you are going to say it's tmimo that I have tmimos, then what does it accomplish that during the day I can't count with a bracha? So let me count with the bracha during the day if I forgot. If I forgot at night, let me count during the day. V'yesh lomar, and here's the famous logic that you're going to see quoted, which has the nafkamina in terms of how we approach many of the shilas that come up if I forget to count Sefirat Omer. This is the first time we're going to see it, and we'll see it the final time in the Bir Halacha B'Ezrat Hashem at the end of this year. Ve'im timsei lomar eich kasher b'yom. I'm sorry, I skipped. V'yesh lomar to have a sfek sfeka. It's a suffix. You know why I could continue to count? So again, the case he's addressing. I forgot to count the 24th. I didn't count the 24th at night. Counted the 24th this morning without a bracha. Why am I able to count again tonight with a bracha? Because it's a sfek sfeka. Okay? Suffix number one. Okay? Shema Sefira kasher b'yom. Who says, maybe I hold like the bahag. Tmimos doesn't tell me I can't count during the day. Tmimos tells me don't miss the day of counting. But the day is kosher for counting. You can count with the bracha. So suffix for that, maybe the bahag is right in terms of his machlokes bahag versus everyone else. V'im tim solomar ein kosher b'yom. Even if you tell me it's not kosher, the day is not counted. The day is not good for counting. Afilu hachi sofer shayim bracha kish omrim kain the dama demad bekach shachach yom echad ma she'en kain b'oto yom leika elach. I'm sorry. V'im tim solomar ein kosher b'yom afilu hachi sofer shayim bracha kish omrim. Kain dema bekach shechachach yom echad, mashein kain be'oto yom, leka ela chat sveka. He doesn't flush out the sfek sveka to the extent we want, but really the sfek sveka develops into it could be it's an independent mitzvah each day. could be it's an independent mitzvah. So he develops the Sfek Sveikas, right? His question is a good question, right? Which is, if you're telling me that during the day counting is nothing, because I don't count during the day with a bracha, so why does counting during the day with a bracha give me the ability to continue to count that next night with a bracha? Okay, so let's say I forgot to count.
Can you repeat that, what you just said?
Sure. Because it's a fine point, but it's going to be very important lahalacha l'maisa. So it's important for us to try to understand it. The Sfek Sveika that becomes into play for most of the questions that come up in terms of if I forget a night is as follows. He posed a question: if I forgot last night, we paskin, we don't count. I'm not going to say a bracha this morning. I'm going to say today is the 24th day of the Omer, but I'm not going to do so with a bracha. So he says to me, if I'm not counting with a bracha this morning, what does that accomplish in terms of my counting sefira? To the extent that I'm actually able to continue to count tonight with a bracha, right? If I'm not able to count in the morning, if I can't count right now at 9:30, 9 almost, right? If I can't count right now with a bracha, then I'm not counting really. So I missed a day, so I should be out. If it's real counting this morning, let me count it with a bracha. And if it's not a real counting this morning, don't allow me to continue to count tonight with a bracha. But you're giving me this like chetzi, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Am I count? Is it a real counting if I count during the day? Not really. Don't say a bracha if you do it. But is it like I'm completely out? No, it's something. It's some sort of counting. You've accomplished something because it gives you the ability to go ahead and to count the next night, this evening with a bracha, right? So it says, why is that? Either what I did this morning is of significance, and if it is of significance, let me count with the bracha. And if it's of no significance, do not allow me to continue counting the rest of sfira with the bracha. But you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, he says. Make up your mind. What is the day? What is Tamimus? So he answers, it's based off a Sfek Sveika, right? It could be the reason I continue to count during the next night is because with a bracha. So again, I forgot day 2. I count day 2 I forgot day 2 at night. I count day 2 in the morning. Day 3, I count with the bracha. Why is that? Because it could be I'm allowed to count during the day and it's of significance. That's the Bahag, okay, who says that there's nothing wrong with counting during the day. And even if you tell me that it's not really so, it could be that each night is an independent mitzvah. Each night is a distinct and separate mitzvah. So who cares that I forgot to count night 2? I could go ahead and count night 3 with a bracha. Because of that Sfek Sveika, it allows me to continue.
According to that logic, what happens if I skip 2 days? If each night is significant on its own.
So then you only have one suffix. You're lacking the suffix that says if I count during that counting during the day on the second day in the morning is of significance. So you just have the suffix that it could be each night is an independent mitzvah, but I don't have a Sfek Sveika to tell me that I could continue to count.
But even a sveika, right? Usually it's a matir to let you do something. We don't usually say a sveika is a matir to let you say a bracha.
We actually do. There are. I meant to prepare a list. There are other places where we say Sfek Sveika. It does allow me to continue. I was I don't remember when I was learning it. It was definitely recent. It was definitely in this year. But there's like a list of cases of what Sfek Sveika is matir. But if you want, Morty, I could say it in the language that I think would be consistent with your rationale, which is the Sfek Sveika allows me to continue to count with the bracha. Allows me to continue to count. If you want to say Sfek Sveika usually gives me the ability to do something, so here it's giving me the ability to perform the mitzvah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I want to keep going through the Rishonim because there's some very important Mishnah Buras, some Bir Halachas Mishnah Buras that are quite key to all this. The Sefer Machriya is fascinating. He makes a distinction. Please do it on your own on Yud Gimel and Yud Dalet. He makes the distinction that counting, if I forget to count the first night, that's an issue, okay? As opposed to counting the second, forgetting to count the second and third night. He says none of these cases will get off the ground if I forget to count the first night. Because he said that's, to me, most means that I need the bookends. I need a complete bookend. What happens in the middle? Okay, it's a little fuzzy and you can mess around with it a little, you can mix and match, but you need the bookends to be complete. So if I miss the first night, he says, that's what's lacking to me most. But if I miss the middle of it, he says, then that's not necessarily a din in tamimos, and that you could be able to count. That's according to him. So he says, yeah. So he says, tamim, right. So tamimos is at night, meaning the counting is during the night. Not that I need to miss a day in the middle. And he also interprets tamimos that again you need the first night and the last night. That's how you have a complete set. The Grizz makes on page Tesvav makes a very interesting argument. I was actually going to pose this to the Shir. If you could think of cases like this, it would be helpful. He points out on page Tesvav, right, that he says that even if you hold that it's all one mitzvah, right? The Bahag says that if you miss one night, you're not able to continue counting because you need tamimos, and you're not able to fulfill that mitzvah. So he says even if you hold that it's all one mitzvah, we know of places where you could make a bracha on parts of a mitzvah. So why, according to the Bahag, he says even if you go with that svara, right? If you go with the svara that each night is an independent mitzvah, and tamimos just tells me count at the beginning of the night as opposed to the next morning, right? So those, okay, you have an answer for why you could continue to count. You have 49 independent mitzvahs that are taking place here. But he says even according to the Bahag, who says it's all one mitzvah, and tamimos means the way I accomplish this one mitzvah is counting every single day. You could count on parts of a mitzvah, of accomplishing parts of the mitzvah. The Shifti editors who put this together, they use the terms that you can that you're able to count on a Maisa mitzvah. Not necessarily that you need to the whole mitzvah to complete it. If you want to, sometimes we reference, it's in the brackets on the bottom here. He says that you're able to make a bracha on a Maisa mitzvah even if not on the Kiyum mitzvah. If I don't fulfill the entire mitzvah, I could still make a bracha on the Maisa mitzvah. Can anyone think of other cases where you make bracha on parts of a mitzvah, on a Maisa mitzvah? Anyone? Couldn't think of a case. And he doesn't say here, they didn't bring anything in the bottom. I don't know, if someone could think of something, I'd be curious because but again, he's saying, so therefore, what's the extension of his logic? He's saying, therefore, if even according to the Bahag, if I miss a night, I could continue, I should be able to count because, okay, I'm just, I could count on different parts of the mitzvah. But let's continue in terms of understanding where we come le halacha. If we take
What about the possibility?
Yes.
What about the possibility if you're unable to obtain Arba Minim, but you only have 3, and it's beyond your possibility to get, you still can make a bracha al Netilas Lulav with what you have? Is that a possibility to consider?
Is that how we paskin? That if you only have...
I don't know. I'm asking.
You need all 4.
I think you need all 4 to say a bracha.
Yeah, right.
So even through extenuating circumstances, you're in Russia, whatever it is, you can't get it, so you don't make the bracha, you say.
Right, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's how I paskin. Because also they have all these stories in terms of the difficulty to obtain different parts of the minim, specifically the esrog, and how people would they would just pass it around without a bracha. There'd be like one esrog for a community,
Okay.
That was a good logic, Ellie, because I understand what you're trying to do. You took a mitzvah that had multiple parts to it to try to answer the question. I don't know. If someone thinks of it, I was very curious. He sort of makes this comment, but I don't know, again, Hanukkah, you want to say there's each one's a different night. You make is that true though? Is that, maybe if I forgot to count one night of Hanukkah without a bracha, I could continue to count the next day with the bracha, right?
But each mitzvah is not a mitzvah, 8-day mitzvah. It's
It's each
Like,
individual.
Right.
Oh,
And the same thing with
that one's more clear that it's individual, right?
what about tefillin? You have two mitzvahs in tefillin, 1, 2.
Those are two independent mitzvahs.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's the
there's one
same
bracha
problem with
for
Hanukkah.
yeah, but the question is that one bracha for two. You know, somehow it overlaps.
Right.
Well, how about bris milah not on the 8th day? Maybe. I mean, it's still you're not technically right. You didn't fulfill it on the 8th day, but it's still the Maisa mitzvah. I don't know.
But we're looking for a case that has a Maisa mitzvah with multiple components to it. Because he's saying if you just do, but you're saying in general, Morty, your point is that on a Maisa mitzvah, even not a Kiyum mitzvah.
I'm saying. I mean, maybe bris milah is an example where you haven't technically done it on the 8th day, but you still.
No, but I think you're still Mekayim the mitzvah. You're just not Mekayim it. It's not that if you perform the Milah Shelo B'Zmana that it's not a kiyum of the din of the mitzvah Milah. It just means that the bracha can only be done on the 8th day, but it doesn't mean if any other day means I haven't been Mekayim the complete mitzvah. I think it's just the din of making a bracha.
Are you saying that if someone postponed the bris, you don't say a bracha?
Correct. A mitzvah, a Milah Shelo B'Zmana, a bracha is not made. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Live and learn.
I don't know if there are exceptions to the rule. Anyone know any exceptions? I think that's how we paskin, right? Milah Shelo B'Zmana.
I don't know.
Okay. Let's see how we. I really want to show you. And the Dirshu brings some really very great cases in terms of understanding some very modern applications of this. So I want to get to the Rambam. We're so close, and then we're going to see where we end up halakha. Okay. So again, the Rambam on page Tes Zayin. Everyone with me in the source sheets on Tes Zayin. So in halacha Chaf Beis, he says in Hilchos Tmidin Musafin and Perek Zayin halacha Chaf Beis, mitzvah aseh lispor Sheva Shabbosos Tmimos Miyom Havasa Omer Shneimar B'Sefartem Lachem Mimacheret HaShabbos Sheva Shabbatot. Okay. Mitzvah Limnos Hayamim Ima Shavua, count the days with the weeks. Shneimar Tisperu Chamishim Yamim, right? So I can't just count the weeks. I have to count the days as well. Umitchilas Hayom Monen, you count at the beginning of the day. Okay, that's a key component. Okay. Lefichach Mona B'Laila. You count at night on the 16th of Nisan. You count at the beginning of the halachic day. Okay. Now, here's where we want to know what the Rambam holds. If I forget to miss a day. Halacha Chaf Gimel. Shachach v'lo mana b'layla. If I didn't count at night, mona b'yom. You count during the day. Ve'ein monen ela mu'umad. And you only count while you're standing. Ve'imanam yushav yatsa. But David, it's okay to count while sitting. So again, he, very similar to that first Tosfos I quoted the Bahag. According to the Rambam, if you're looking inside, if I forget to count during the night, at Shachris the next morning, how do I count Sefirat HaOmer? What do you think?
You mean standing or sitting?
No, I'm saying do I count? Do I not count? Do I count with bracha, without bracha?
With a bracha, apparently.
I would say with the bracha, the Rambam says.
That's the impression.
Yeah, he just simply says, Shachach v'lo mana b'layla, mona b'yom, period. And then he goes on to talk about standing versus sitting. So, okay. So according to him, Tamimos Tamimos is a din maybe to go ahead and to count at night, to try to count at night, and that's what I'm supposed to accomplish with Tamimos. But if I forget to count, I don't know.
But look at Halacha Chaf Hey. It says Tzarech Levarech B'chol Laila.
Al Sefirat HaOmer Kodim Shispor Mana V'lo Barach Yatsa Ve'eno Choser Umavarech.
But he says Tzarech Levarech B'chol Laila. Why doesn't he say Tzarech Levarech before you count? He specifically says the bracha is at night.
No, he says Tzarech Levarech B'chol Laila Kodim Shispor.
Right, but you didn't need the word Laila. If the bracha also applied during the day, you wouldn't need the word Laila.
So, but he said on Chaf Beis that you should try to count at night. Mitchilas hayom monen, that was the end of Chaf Beis. Lefichach mona b'layla.
I'm proposing the word Laila in Halacha Chaf Hey is actually, we don't need it. If the bracha also applied in the day, you wouldn't have the word Laila. I'm saying that Laila limits the bracha tonight. That's my suggestion.
I hear what you're saying. So let me read it one. Let's read Chav Hey. Tzarech levarech b'chol laila. Mana v'lo birech yatza. Right. So you're saying. Okay, I understand that. Okay, fine.
You know, I
It's
have a-
always you have an action and you have a bracha. And if you
No, he's saying it's specific. When he's
the action without
detailing
making
the bracha,
you
he's
forfeited the ability to make the bracha. But you haven't. The action is separate. The action is the deraisa, the bracha is the rabbana. And it's like when you netilas lulav. If you pick up the lulav with the arba minim and you pick it up the correct way, you fulfill the obligation. You can't make the bracha again.
right, correct.
You know,
So,
can I say something?
therefore, what?
And therefore, the bracha is kind of independent. I mean, you have to do it over the asiyasa.
Right, and it's not necessarily a diuk that you're not accomplishing the mitzvah doing
And
it.
it's a
during the day.
drabanan. The drabanan said to make the
It's
bracha.
separate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here it could be though. Sorry, go ahead.
So the Rambam doesn't make any distinction. Wherever there's, he says you count. It's like a tchila with a bracha. And if you count it without the bracha, you counted it already. It's done.
You know,
That's
can I say something?
when someone asks you what day is today, if you didn't count, you don't say. You say yesterday was.
Correct.
But if we look at Chaf Beis, doesn't the fact that he says and he emphasizes that he has to do it sort of indicates to you?
Sorry,
Yeah,
someone go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Chaf Beis, it seems to the fact that he adds the words you have to do it standing indicates to me that everything is just like karagil. It's like, you know, so it only implies to me that he would say yes with the bracha.
During the day.
Yeah, it says, you know, you do it standing like the same way you would do it at night. He doesn't say bracha, but that's how I would read it.
So, Michael, the only thing I could tell you is that the Rambam clearly indicates by Chaf Beis that the way to perform the mitzvah is to count it at night, is to begin counting at night. Correct. So on Chaf Hey, when he details how to say a bracha, he's telling you when you're doing the mitzvah in the lechatchila fashion, he's not going to tell you, you know, because the truth is what Moish is saying, it is a good point because it's clear from the you nowhere in the Rambam do you see that you're not mekayim the mitzvah if you count during the day. The Maisa mitzvah and the bracha are separate. The parallel that he drew from Netilas Lulav is like a good comparison, right? So again, I could hear it both ways. But again, I have no indication that there's a chisaron in counting during the day from the Rambam. It's true.
He also doesn't say. He also has to say here what happens.
The
He doesn't say anything about if you forget to count the whole day and you didn't count that day. What do you do? Or is he doing that later? I don't know. It's a chavav.
I hear. I mean, we don't have a chavav, but yeah, that's good. Okay, I have to think. I hear it both ways. Okay, there's well, I want to start getting to the tour. The tour provides a very, very good summary. And after we do the tour, we're going to go straight to halacha l'maisa. I'm going to assume each one of us has an average of a 5-minute commute home. So since no one's commuting home, I'm using 5 minutes past 10 o'clock to wrap up. I'm using your commute time. So that's my commute time today. It's not yours. Those 5 minutes are mine. Oh, Michael sent something. I didn't see this before. Shabbos might be an example. Have a mitzvah of kiddush and others. What does that mean? Michael? Can you give us a Perush Rashi?
He sent that earlier when you were talking about mitzvahs with different parts. That's already
Right.
10,
So
that's
he
already
was
10 minutes
saying-
old.
So Michael is saying what? In this chat when he wrote this here? Shabbos might be an example. Oh, like Kiddush has different parts, you're saying. Okay. But what are the different parts of Kiddush? I don't know. Yeah, but the Shabbos has different parts, but the kiyum of Kiddush, of Zachos Yom Shabbos Lakacho, we learn is at night primarily. No, what is the second part of Zachos Yom Shabbos Lakacho? Okay, something to think about. Kiddush during the day. No, we learned that that's probably a separate, distinct mitzvah. We don't say Mekadesh is a Shabbos during the day. That's not a kiyum of it. If you did the night before. We talked about cases if you forgot Friday night, then to be Mekayim the next day. But Mekadesh is a Shabbos is not done during the day. It's separate. It's separate. Okay. Let's continue in the. Sorry, I didn't see your comment earlier in the chat, Michael. Okay. Let's continue in the tour on page Yud Ches. I want to do something interesting while I do the tour with you. Because when you do the tour up top, and then if you could follow along with me, I'm going to interrupt as I'm doing the tour. We're going to do the Bach, because the Bach almost comes as a Parish Rashi for the tour. Okay, it'll be quick and relatively easy. Okay, so Kasav Bahag. Okay,
Where are you?
I'm in the tour on Yud Ches up top. And I'll let you know when I go to the Bach on the bottom. So you're going to keep two fingers. You're going to keep 2 fingers on the page. We'll go down together. Okay. First, we'll do the tour. Kasav Bahag Shem Shachach Levarich Kol Alayla Sheyispor B'Yom. You could count. You could go ahead and count during the day. Before continuing the tour, go to the Bach on the right side, but don't go to the last paragraph. Go to the second to last paragraph. And where he has in the third line of the second to last paragraph, so the second to last paragraph of the Bach on the right columns says Kasav Bahag. Go towards where it says Badaf Lamed, 3 lines down. You see in brackets it says Badaf Lamed?
Yeah.
Okay, so Vataimo, right? So here, so just follow along with me. So here, Vataimo, the reason the Bahag says you could count during the day, Mishum Depose Kistam Matnitin Beperik Rabbi Yishmael, the Bahag holds this because he holds that we pass in Perik Rabbi Shmuel Niktzar HaOmer B'Yom Kasher Memela Gam Ken Asfira Kasher B'Yom, and therefore just like the Ketzira could be done during the day, so too the counting could be done during the day as well. So again, the Bach is giving us Chazar and background in each one of these Shita. So that's the reason for the Bahag. Continue with the tour up top. Keep your finger down there, please, by the Bach, or we just end it off. Continue with the tour up top. The Eino Nira Liri, but the Ri does not hold this. Now go back to the Bach. Taimosh on the bottom. The Eino Nira Liri, right? It's the bolded in the second to last paragraph. Oma Shakasa, the Eino Nira Liri. That's the different Amaski on the Bach. Taimosh who posted Kereb Eliezer, Sheim Lo Katzar Balayla, Eino Kotzer B'Yom. Lefichach Im Lo Safar Balayla, Eino Sofer B'Yom. V'chein Pasak Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, continue with me up top in the tour. Va'adoni Avi Harash, Kas Zechron Lebracha, Kasav, Sheyispor B'Yom, V'lo Bracha. That you're going to go ahead and count during the day and just without a bracha. Okay. Okay, and then continue, and then the tour continues. V'kasav od bahag, she'im shachach levarich be'echad min hayamim. If I forgot to count one of the days, shelo yivarich od b'yamim shala'achrav. I'm not going to count again with a bracha. Now you could go to the Bach on the right-hand side that has the hand pointing into it, the last paragraph of the Bach, and he says, right, v'taimo mishum deba'inan tmimos v'leika. Because I need complete weeks, and if I miss a day, I need complete counting. I need a complete set, and if I miss a day, there's a chisaron. I don't have completeness, so I can no longer count. And I'm back in the tour. Rav Saja Kasav, the last line on the tour here on Yod Ches and Siman Taf Pei Tas, the Rav Saja Kasav, Shim Shachach be'echad min hayamim yevarich b'yom shel acharav. If I forgot one of the nights, I continue to count the other days. Chutz milayla rishon. I mentioned this to you parenthetically that we have a shita that says this. That's separate from the first night. If I forgot that day, I can no longer count. If I forgot the first day, I can no longer count the bracha because again, according to that, he says tmimos is you need the bookends. The middle you forget to count, it's okay. But to have a complete sentence, you need to have a beginning. You didn't count the 16th of Nisan. How could you expect to even come close to accomplishing Tamimos? Okay. Rav Hai Gaon, I'm in the tour again. Kasav, Bein Balayla Rishon, Bein Bishar Leilos, Im Shachach Velo Birech Bo, Yevarech Bishar Leilos, V'chen Kasav Harbein Yoyan. And Rav Hai Gaon says, well, I don't make a distinction between forgetting to count the first night or the third night. Regardless, I could go ahead and continue to count with a bracha. Okay? If you could go with me back to page Yud Ches, okay? Back to page Yud Ches, the Bach on the bottom, continue where we left off in the second to last paragraph, where he said, right? We read what he held about, the last paragraph of the Bach, where the hand is in the margin on page Yud Ches. So right at the beginning, we said the reason of Rabbeinu Tam is you need Tamimos. So if I forget a day, I can no longer count the bracha. And the reason of Rav Sadia Gaon is Mishum de Sfirle, the Kol Sfiras Hayamim, Mitzvah Achaz Hi, Haschalasa B'Shisha Ashar B'Nisan, the Gamra B'Chamisha B'Sivan. It is one mitzvah, but the mitzvah begins on the 16th of Sivan, 16th of Nisan, and ends on the 5th of Nisan. Hilkach. Because again, Tamimo, that's how he views. He does hold it's one mitzvah, but he holds you could be mevarich on even if I miss a middle part, a maisa mitzvah that's going to be accomplished in the middle. Okay, so how do we paskin? This is what we've all been waiting for. On page Chaf, the Mechaber in Siman Taf Pei Tes says as follows. Okay, he says, and here I'm going to use my own Mishnah Berurah because I have some notes that I wanted to share as we wrap this up. He holds on Taf Pei Tes Siman Zayin. Okay, he says Shachach v'lo berech kol halayla. If I didn't count at night at all of last night went by, I did not count. Yispor b'yom below bracha. I'm going to go ahead and count during the day without a bracha. Okay? If you take a look at the Mishnah Berurah here, the Mishnah Berurah on Lamed Gimel, so he says as follows: Sifkat on Lamed Gimel. Yispor b'yom. I'm going to go ahead and count during the day. Kedas harbe poskim de b'di'eved sfiras yom ole l'sfira. Okay? Many poskim hold that b'di'eved I could count during the day without a bracha. But it's b'di'eved. Why is it b'di'eved? So you and I know by now. It's modeled, it's a machlokus in terms of, for kitziras ha'omer, what is okay to do? So many people say that b'di'eved, it's okay to do kitziras ha'omer during the day. So therefore, sfiras ha'omer is okay during the day, but b'di'eved. So I'm going to do it without a bracha. Okay, below bracha he says, the next Mishnah Berurah Lamed Sifkat and Lamed Dalet, the yesh lachush l'das haposkim, the ein zman sfira ela b'layla, that the sfira only counts during the night. Why? Because you and I know by now, many people say you count at night because that's mimos, to count at the beginning of the night. And if I would go ahead and make a bracha during the day, it's levatala. Mihu mikana laba sofer bechol laila bebracha. From then on, I'm going to be able to count with a bracha. Okay, so if I forget to count on the second night, I count on the second day. Why do I count during the second day without a bracha? Because b'di'eved, kitziras ha'omer is okay as well during the day. And what happens on the third night? Can I count with the bracha? Yes, you could. Below have kedileg yom echad lagamre. I'm sorry. You could go ahead and to count, and that's going to be fine. Okay. And therefore, but this is all assuming if I didn't completely forget one day, and we're going to get to that in a second. The Kaf HaChaim says, for those that remember, this year we don't know because we're not in Shul. The Kaf HaChaim says that the reason there's a minhag that exists in Shuls to count during the day, to count after Shachris, and to say what day of Spirit it is based off these words based off this idea. The minhag comes from this. Because it could be, if Ketzir is okay b'di'eved during the day, Sfira is okay b'di'eved during the day as well. So when the Chazan finishes Aleinu, we say last Kaddish, give a clap, say what day of Sfira it is. Kaf HaChaim says it's based off of this. Take a look at the Mechaber and Sifches. Im Shachach I have to see how you guys have it here. Yeah, so it's still on page Chafal for you. That he says as follows: Im shachach levarech be'echad me'ayamim. If I forgot to count one of the days, bein b'yom rishon, bein mishar yamim. Important distinction. He doesn't hold by that shita that says that the first day is treated differently. Okay, so you're already seeing how he's passing within the Gaonim. Bein b'yom rishon, bein b'shar yamim. So for b'shar yamim below bracha, if I completely forgot the day, I can't count without a. I don't count with a bracha. But
it says that you must count.
Yes, just without a bracha.
So counting is one component, and the bracha is another component.
Maybe we're going to see the bir.
You have an obligation to count.
Yeah, we're going to see the bir halacha on this. Good, it's a good point, Moshe. But look at this though. Aval imhu mesupak. This is the classic case. I don't remember if I counted last night. I'm so used to knowing that every day after when I daven Marv, I know that I'm saying Sefirat. Last night, my head was all over the place. I don't remember what I did last night. I can't say that I for sure did. I can't say I for sure didn't. He says, so if he's mesupak, okay, yispor b'shar yamim bebracha, then I could go ahead and I could continue to count with a bracha. So why does he say this? Let's take a look at these Mishnah Brurahs here. Okay, the Mishnah Brurah here on Lamed Vav. The Mishnah Brurah Lamed Vav says, Sofer b'shar yamim, right? This was the Mishnah Brurah that said you could continue to count without a bracha, okay? If you know you for sure didn't count, right? He says, Kedas harbe poskim, the ein sefiras hayamim ma'ach ben zed zeh, b'kol yama v'yama mitzvah b'fnei asmohi. So you know the reason I continue to count? Because you saw, Tamimos does not mean I can't miss a day. Tamimos means like Rabbeinu Tam, like the Ri, like Tosfos, like Rabbeinu Tam, like the Chinuch, maybe like the Rambam. Tamimos means that that I need to try to count at night. So because of all those poskim that say that, you're not out and say, okay, I'm not ever going to count Sefirat the rest of the nights because I forgot a night. But you have all these Rishonim that you and I read that says that Tamimos doesn't mean that. Tamimos doesn't mean that I need to make sure I have a full counting. I counted all 49 days. Therefore, if you forgot a day, and this is how we paskin, continue to count, but you don't say a bracha. Why don't you say a bracha? Take a look at the next Mishnah Brurah, Sif Katan Lamed Zayin, below bracha, Lachush Lamanda Amar. He doesn't say Laharbe Poskim. Who's the Manda Amar? There's only one person that holds this. The Bahag. Lachush Lamanda Amar, the Amar Sefiras, Sheva Shabbosos Tamimos Ba'inan, V'Haleka. You know why you don't count with the bracha? Because you need 7 complete weeks. So you see that one Bahag, where I told you if you're keeping a tally, you have the Bahag on his own bench and everyone else is on the other side. But that one Bahag is the reason that you and I hold that if we completely miss the day, that I'm not going to count again with the bracha. Because of the Tosfos and the Chinuch and the Rambam and the Rabbeinu Tam and everyone else, that's the reason I'm going to continue to count. But the reason I'm going to not count with the bracha is because of this bahag, right? Sheva Shabbosos Tamimos Bainan v'Haleka, the Hachaser Chad Yoma, and I'm missing a day. And even so says the Mishnah Brurah, you know what you should do? So thank God we have Rabbi Rothwax. So maybe this year it's different because people are doing it over the phone. But either way, we have the virtual Mincha Marav Minyanim that are taking place. So maybe you could hear the bracha from him and answer Amen. Big machlokas in terms of hearing things over recording, what that counts. But okay. Maybe you have someone else in your house who could say it for you. Vayana Amen v'kavana latzes, and say Amen to have kavana latzes for everyone but the bahag. Okay? And then go ahead and make the bracha on your own. Now, there's a few very important dinim here, okay? That and we're just going to say them outside.
Excuse me for a second.
Yes, please.
Excuse me for a second.
Please.
Does that also mean that if instead of saying today's 24, I said last night, today, I made a bracha and I said today's 25?
And did you correct yourself afterwards?
No, just the next morning.
Oh, you corrected it the next morning?
Yeah.
So you tonight you could continue to count with the bracha.
Uh-huh.
So you would say, again, because it could be, Tamimos doesn't mean that I have to count during the night. Tamimos means that I could fulfill the mitzvah during the day. Or, even if you hold that it's not a din in Tamimos, B'diavad, the Ketziras HaYomer was done during the day. It's okay to do B'diavad. So Sefirat during the day also counts B'diavad. So what happens, right? So so the famous Sfek Sfeika that I wanted you to take a look at is if you take a look, this whole idea that if I forgot to count a day, right? It says if you take a look at Lamed Ches, the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Ches, the Ika Sfek Sfeika, and this is the Sfek Sfeika I detailed to you. That right? Maybe he didn't skip a day at all, and if he did skip a day, maybe the halacha is that the whole day is a mitzvah on its own. Okay. V'huadin b'chol davar shedino lachzor v'lispor b'li bracha mach masafek im lo chazar v'yispor shar lailos b'bracha. Okay. V'lechein im ta b'yamim v'lo ta b'shvuos o ta b'shvuos v'lo ta b'yamim dino lachzor v'lispor b'lo bracha im lo chazar v'siper afilo hachem mona shar yamim b'bracha. So Moshe, that's exactly your case, right?
Right.
Okay.
But if
So,
you,
in other words,
it said if you forgot,
he's saying
you made a
it was
mistake.
further. Sorry,
If,
go
like
ahead.
Moshe said, if you counted 25 instead of 24, and you never corrected it, the next night comes up and it's 25 now. You said, oh, I already counted 25. Then you missed counting 24 completely. Then you can't count anymore with the bracha.
No, but he's saying he corrected during the day.
No, he said. But if you didn't correct it altogether, you came up to the next night and everybody's counting 25, and you said, I thought all along that yesterday was 25. Then
if you miss a full day, you're completely out. Yeah,
right.
Correct. But here, again, because of this Sfek Sfeika, that it could be each mitzvah, each day is a mitzvah on its own, it has a lot of, again, because it depends what you say Tamimos does. So it says, so right, he says, if you mixed up the days, but you didn't mix up the weeks, or you
Well, this
mixed
is the
up
first
the
time
weeks.
that we're actually talking about weeks and days. We
Yeah.
haven't even mentioned that until now.
Right,
The-
but
the
it's
count.
just a permutation of that Sfek Sfeika. It's a permutation of creating Sfek Sfeikas, I think. Right. He now one of the things I wanted to point out here is that I guess we'll do the last Shulchan Aruch here. If you go to the begin, it's on the next page. Go to page Chaf Vav for you, and with this we'll conclude. This will be the last page we'll see. Page Chaf Vav in your source sheet. The Mechaber says as follows: Belel Sheni Achar Tfilas Arvis, meaning the second night of Pesach. Matchilan Lispar Omer ve'im Shachach Lispar b'Tchilas Halayla Holech v'Sofer Kol Halayla. If I forgot to count at night, I could at the beginning of the night I could go ahead and continue to count the rest of the night. Okay. And if you take a look at the Mishnah Berurah Daled, why is it that it could count the rest of the night? As long as the night has not passed, I have not gotten out of Tamimos. In other words, Tamimos, according to everyone except the Bahag, means to try to count at night. Okay? They need a Tamimos. They need a parish of what Tamimos means. So he's saying you're still Mikayim Tamimos if you count at any point during the night. It becomes a problem if it goes into the next day, if it's no longer night.
But only the first night.
Just to give you parish Rashi.
Because you don't count the first night, then you can never have Tamimos no matter how you look at it.
No, we saw that we didn't paskin like that. The Mechaber doesn't say that in Sifches.
Yeah.
Right? He says, Im shachach levarech be'echad me'yamim bein yom rishon bein mishar yamim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was an opinion that said that. We saw the Gaonim that said that. But we don't hold like that. But you see from here, Tamimos does have a din, which is why it's important to try to count as early in the night as possible. Okay? Because again, you want to get the full period in there. Okay? Mitzvah kol echad be'echad lispor lifnei atzmo. Okay? There was another Mishnah Berurah they want us to see here. Oh, the one on Sifkan base. This is the one I was just saying. If you look at the Mishnah Berurah on Sifkan base, achar tfilas arvis v'kodem aleinu. You say it before aleinu. Why? The koma de efshar lakdume makdinan. as early as you're able to say Sefira, even within your tefillah, go ahead and say it. Because the earlier you say it, the closer you are to being Mekayim Tmimos Tiyana. Now again, that's their own parish in terms of, again, Tmimos, that's an extension of it. To go as early as you can.
At State Route 208 North Fair Lawn.
So again, to go as early as you can is also a din in Tmimos. I think what I'm going to do, because it is late, no one has a 17-minute commute home, even though we started a little bit later. I'll do all the source sheet posting earlier. I apologize for that. Morty reminded me, and I didn't get to it. I apologize. Morty had the foresight for this. But what I'll do is I'll make sure so we start closer on time next week. We'll post the source sheets in the various places and have them up and running. The few remaining, there's a tshuva from Rav Moshe and others and a kafachan that I wanted to share with you. I'll post them in the WhatsApp group, very short recordings, clip by clip. It'll be each one, I'll try to make it under 30 seconds for those that want to know for the various cases. But you see here the various permutations of how, because of that one bahag, his one interpretation of what Tmimos is. So you saw how that trickled down all the way to the point where we won't say with a bracha if you miss to count the night, you don't count the bracha during the next day. But you're going to continue to count the following days because of all the other Rishonim that we learned in terms of their understanding of Tmimos. So shkoyach for everyone. It was great to see people again. Great to get us back going. And next week we have a great sugya, very shaykh by the way. With all of us in quarantine, we're all missing Kriyas HaTorah. So next week we're going to start doing a few Kriyas HaTorah sugyas. It was actually the sugya for them this week, but we wanted to do something for Sefira. But we have a lot of interesting, very halacha l'maisa with everything going on in terms of being Mekayim Kriyas HaTorah and examining that given all of our situations now. So looking forward to next week, and have a wonderful day and week, everyone. Thank you.
You too, and be careful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.